تفضل.
مساء الخير أعزائي الحضور. شكرا جزيلا على حضوركم هاي الليلة. واليوم محاضرتنا هي عن العقارات، وهي بعنوان التغييرات في القواعد العقارية في أونتاريو. محاضرنا اليوم هو دكتور رشيد الصفار، أحد مؤسسي المنتدى الذي يعود له الفضل وللمؤسسين الآخرين في خلق هذا الصرح الثقافي المهم. لقد اهتم دكتور رشيد بموضوع العقارات منذ صغره، وذلك بسبب كونه أحد أعمال العائلة التجارية، وحصل على الرخصة المهنية عام 2017 من أونتاريو كندا ريال استيت ريال اسوسيشنز and member of، وهو عضو في Central Lake Board affiliated with Royal LePage and then with Royal Heritage Brokerage. يهدف الدكتور راشد إلى توفير أسس تعليمية قوية للعملاء لمساعدتهم في تلبية احتياجاتهم العقارية، ويركز دائما وبشكل خاص على العقارات السكنية وعقارات الواجهة البحرية والأراضي والمزارع. طبعا هذا كله بالإضافة إلى عمله المهني في مجال تكنولوجيا المعلومات. يرجى من الأعضاء وضع المايك على حالة الميوت مرة أخرى، أو تفضل دكتور رشيد بالمحاضرة.
شكرا أستاذ أبو محمد، شكرا جزيلا ومساء الخير إخواني وأخواتنا الكرام. بس نسوي شير للسكرين. مساء الخير جميعا. اليوم الهدفنا من المحاضرة اليوم هو الحقيقة هي محاضرة تعليمية لأن القانون العقارات أو التغييرات في الريال استيت بأونتاريو تغيرت من ناحية القوانين السابقة، لأن صارت عدة شو اسمه كومبلين ومشاكل كثيرة في حكومة أونتاريو ويا البورد اسوسيشن غيروا بالتعامل بطريقة البائع والمشتري، بالإضافة إلى ريال استيت اسوسيشن والبروكرج، عمود يخلقون تراست بالريال استيت. واكثركم سمع المحاضرات والمشاكل بالجرائد على المشاكل. فالهدف من المحاضرة هي تعليمية. قبل ما نبدأ بها نسوي يعني disclaimer إنه هذا الماتيريال for education purpose, not to provide you any advice to buy or resell. It is a general information. وهذا يعني ما يغير القانون من حيث إذا أنت already ويا عندك عقد ويا ريال استيت، يعني هذا ما يتدخل بالموضوع. فمجرد إنه هذا إنه كتحفيظ، أي مجرد هي educational for purpose. أول شغلة واحد لازم يعرفها إنه بأونتاريو أكو يسموه organized real estate و there is no organized unorganized real estate. Organized real estate هو structure which is built by the government of Ontario. بالإضافة إذا تلاحظون هذا الدايجرام، أنت ككلاينت حتتعامل with the realtor or agent. بس بالايجنت اكو ريليشن شيب. الايجنت لازم يكون member of Real Estate Council of Ontario. There is a membership, you have to be part of that. A realtor had to be part of a real estate board. In my case, I am with the Central Lake District, which is used to be Durham Region Board Association. They changed the name. In order to work in real estate as a realtor or agent, you have to be you have to work for a brokerage, or you have a contract with the brokerage. Well, the brokerage had to be member of Real Estate of Ontario. بالإضافة, realtor had to be member of Canadian Real Estate Association. فبالنسبة لللايسنس مالتي, I can deal in residential and commercial of Ontario from border to border. So there is no specific region or area, I cannot deal with real estate بيها. يعني اللايسنس have both of that. الشغله لازم الواحد يعرفها شنو الرول مالت البروكرج. The brokerage has few purposes. The first purpose is basically hold the real estate trust account. So when you buy something, or when you sell something or you buy something, the deposit it go in the real trust account. A realtor cannot hold the real trust account. Plus, the brokerage provide marketing and support and education to the realtor. The board, a real estate board, basically كل region عندهم real estate. يبقى أنت حوالي 22 real estate board. واكو عمليه انه يجوني واحد ويسويها وان ريال استيت بورد وده يصير عمليه اندماج بالريال استيت بورد. البورد ريال استيت بورد هو basically oversee both the realtor والبروكر. بالاضافه هم they have a member of multi listing which is realtor.ca. RICO is a professional association. The provincial belong to the provincial government, and they set the rule and the regulation and everything through the Real Estate Council of Ontario. Plus the Real Estate Council of Ontario, we are insured, we have to buy insurance from them. بالإضافة that if you make any error on a mission, that basically they can protect us if they make something. The Canadian Real Estate Association is basically all over Canada, which is basically advocate lobbying the government, the federal government, in order for the realtor association. But if you see, it is very complex relationship. So you need to know that, like, first thing you have to ask your realtor, is he member of real estate council? Is he member of a brokerage? How things to work out? Some of the realtor, they don't have a license with the real estate board. That means they cannot upload or basically advertise for real estate. So that's things you have to know about it, and you ask about your realtor. So بالضبط هذا اللي حكيته قبل دقيقة. Just additional information just to which is already I spoke about it بالجراف here. A Real Estate Council of Ontario as a realtor is that there is a specific rule and regulation. You have to adhere by it. We have to go through education, yearly education. بالإضافة إلى education, you have to go through it, which is a 1.5 years to get your license. Basically, the professional conduct, and very stressing on the professional conduct, is that as a realtor to your client, could be a buyer, so you have to act in integrity, honesty, and good faith and courtesy. Yeah, this is very important rule, and you could complain about us at the Real Estate Council of Ontario if we are not in good faith, or we did something wrong. So that's a very important thing. You have to be responsive and answer your client questions. And basically, that's one of the important things. You have to promote and protect the best interest of your client. If you are a buyer and a seller, and that's the reason the trust in real estate is basically changing the rule, because the protection and the best interest of the client, that's what is important in the real estate association. Try to avoid conflict of interest. Basically, if you have a buyer and a seller, what is your loyalty will be. If it is your property and you want to sell it, if there's two property on the market, you cannot basically say this one better than the other one. And the other one, confidentiality and the client information. Basically, this is part of the code of ethics we have to go through. But then you have to deal with the respect, with the typical agent type of relationship. This is part of the conduct of ethics. So part of the real estate association is basically they issue now what they call the RICO information guide. Because before, I'm not going to talk what's the rule before. For now, is that because of the trust in the real estate, they put, which is it exists before. Now they made it very clear, and I will share with you the information guide, which is basically about 17-20 pages. You have to read, which is basically explain everything from A to Z. What is important about that is the purpose of the information guide. They made it and very clearly printed in very simple language. You are, as a client, as a buyer or seller, basically you have the right to ask questions, to hire somebody. You have to have all the details in a written format. We had to be very clear closure, disclosure about the information, and then also about the multi-offering things, basically multiple representation. So that the guide I'll show you. It's a PDF, is available on the internet, but I'm going to make it very simple for you. I'm going to go through each step and go through the guide. Confidentiality, we talk about it, basically like your information, how you're going to pay for the house you are buying, because we have to fill a FINTRAC form. Where is the money is coming from? We have to ask you, is this the money from your saving account? Did you have a TFSA account? Is it the money inheritance? So these, because we have to file a TFSA FINTRAC. If we find that there is a suspicious of information, you're not the right one, maybe you don't have a job and then you're buying a house for $1 million, basically we have to report that in FINTRAC. بالإضافة إلى the relationship between you and the realtor and you and the broker. So that's very important, the confidentiality. You have to be very clear with the realtor. If the realtor finds any suspicion, he can investigate more. Okay. Personal information, we have to protect your name, your age, your driver license, your passport, because you're going to give us a lot of information. You're going to talk about the taxes. So all this information, we have to protect it. We have to make sure it is a secure place, not basically written somewhere else, and then the brokerage had to have a copy of that. أكثر الناس, most of the people, they don't know that it is a contract between you and the agent. It is a contract. The contract has two parties, you and the agent. In the contract, you're going to spell all the information about how you deal in the real estate. Most of the people, they hire a real estate person, and basically because they trust him or they know him, they left everything in his hand. Basically, that's wrong. It is a contract between you and them. You have to decide on the selling price. You have to decide on what is included, not included, how you're going to deal with the offer itself. Basically, RICO made it very clear that you are, as a client, you have the upper hand to make sure that you understand the contract, you sign the contract, you ask all the questions as needed. That's very important for you as a buyer, as a seller. Just give one word if you get anything from this presentation, two words actually, or maybe three. You are hiring a realtor to do work for you or a service. When you hire somebody, you're going to write a contract. So you have the upper hand to make sure that the contract satisfy or meet your needs. The job of the realtor is to assist you, to advise you, to give you the information that you don't know it as a person. If you, especially, this is a joke from me, in the Iraqi community, if you talk to anybody, everybody is an expert in real estate without anything, even have a zero knowledge. But if you start talking about houses and investment, you find he is the master of the domain. That is a common thing. It is part of the Iraqi culture, because we know housing and real estate is part of everybody. So that you have to be careful here. The law and the rules are different. Remember, it is a contract. You are hiring somebody to do that. I will talk about what is the presentation agreement is between you and him or her, and basically you hire him to do a deal for you, to help you, to assist you in accomplishing a deal in the real estate. So what is the TRESA? TRESA basically the Trust in the Real Estate Services Act. It is an act by the Parliament of Ontario. So it is basically the government has the upper hand into it. So basically it has three pillars. Disclosure is very important. Remember this word. Disclosure must be in written. The disclosure had to be in written, not verbal. As an example, if you agree with him that the commission will be X amount, you have to write that. It cannot be verbally say, I promise you to sell my house for that price. Very important, everything, disclosure had to be in writing. Disclosure as an example, what you including in selling of your house. Disclosure if you find there is some defect in the house, and then you have to tell your realtor about it. So everything had to be in written format. We are a second point, we are as a realtor, we have to obtain acknowledgement from your client indicating that the closure has been received. So after you write the closure, you sign on it, you have to acknowledge it that you received the disclosure. The third item, once the written acknowledgement is signed, a copy must be provided to you. So a disclosure, it had to be in the written format, has to be an acknowledgement, you have to be a copy of that. That's basically what is now required on the top of the previous. So part of the continuation is that what the TRESA, the new law, the new rules and regulation in real estate dealing is that they made very clarity of multiple representation, and we talk about it in a second. Material fact and a latent fact. Basically, when you're selling your home, you know your house maybe has a defect. Maybe you had a leak in the basement, and then basically you don't want to, and that basically you finish your basement and you know there is a crack behind the wall. And this crack basically water coming with them in certain time of the month. Let's say, but if you're selling in July, the water is not going to show. This is they called it latent defect. Is a hidden defect. Nobody can see it. And there is a defect is visible to the eye. There is a crack in the wall. You don't need to write that. So you have to have that conversation. Very important to declare if there is anything in the house, you know about it and you don't tell your realtor. That's an example. If you have a leaky roof and it's only happened in the month of April, and then you're selling your house in July, the leaky roof. So you have to be very careful what to disclose that. If you don't disclose, it will be back to you. Also, we have to declare a conflict of interest. You have to declare if you are a common law. You have to declare if there is basically you have a grown operation, like you have apart from the normal, you have 2 plants for weed, and basically you have you hold your basement is a weed operation type thing. And then basically the fourth one, usually this is the best way I advise if you sell your home is that to fill in with your realtor what you call the SIP, which is basically seller property information statement, which is basically disclosure about all the things of the house. And if you don't want to sign it, this is an optional, but it basically to protect you, you need to do that. But it's very important, again, the realtor is not going to know everything about your house. If there is something you want to share with him, as an example, like you say, if you are a common, what do you call it, tenant in common in the house, basically you have to declare what is the percentage you have compared to the other partner you have, or basically going through divorce or the deed, which is most of the people, maybe they don't have a copy of the deed, but we can pull that information at a cost in the deed, how many people basically register on the deed. There is one incident that the deed, they have 4 people, 4 sisters, and basically two of them is very old and probably pretty much they have dementia, but the other one, they have a power of attorney. So they have to declare who's really on the deed itself. So that disclosure is very important. So they made it very simple, the rule. The rule was very difficult, very complex. We're not going to talk about it. Now they made it very clear. Either you are a client or you are self-represented party. So let's talk about the first one on the left. You are as a client, there will be an agreement. Remember, we say the representation agreement. The second item, you and your realtor, you're going to agree on the services. As an example, you say and it had to be written, again, had to be written, had to be acknowledged, had to be signed. Remember those. A service, you have to agree, I'm selling my house, a realtor come along. So you're going to ask them what service you're going to provide. Here's an example. Let's go through this. I'm going to do a staging for your house. I'm going to bring a cleaner every week to clean up the house. I'm going to do an open house. I'm going to advertise in the local newspaper. I'm going to advertise on Google. I'm going to advertise on Facebook, correct? I'm going to put this, print 5,000 flyer and distribute it. All of these had to be written, and basically both of you had to sign, and he had to deliver on these services. Before was not such a contract. Say, you hire a realtor, say, yeah, we'll do MLS, we'll advertise, and suddenly he does not fulfill all of that. So the list of the services had to be clear. And then representation, and we're going to talk about it. So if you look at that, I put underlining of the services. So three things. There's an agreement, there is a service contract, there's a representation. Then second rule, which is on your right, self-represented party. You don't have an agreement with the realtor or the brokerage. There is no representation agreement, correct? The first one is a contract. The second one is I'm not representing you. The only thing I'm providing you an assistant. And in the reconfirmation guide, there was a big chapter of a couple of pages talk about self-represented party. What is self-represented party? Basically, you come in and you saw a house on sale, and basically you contact the realtor and say, okay, I want to put an offer on that house. So the realtor is going to do? He's going to give you an assistant to tell you, this is the house, this is the marketing sheet, no more, no less. You have no contract with them, you have nothing, and basically, he does not assist you in writing the contract. He does not advise you about the market analysis. He does not advise you how much the property is worth. Only his job, he had to give you a piece of paper to say exactly what available information on the internet. Okay, basically that type of category, SRP, is really for the people which has extensive knowledge in real estate, and basically they want to do that. Okay, so that the only two categories. You are either a client or not. Now we're going to enter to a little bit complex how we're going to explain that. So representation, remember, part of a clear. There are two types of representation. They made it very simple. There is designated representation and there is a brokerage representation. And there is very simple in this chart. The one on the left, you hire me as a realtor and I'm designated representing to you. You are my client, I'm representing it to you. So basically it's called designated. At the same time, the one on the right, you not just the whole brokerage, whoever work in that brokerage is representing you. Okay, so that's the only difference, either a brokerage representation or basically individual realtor representation. Why this rule is here, they put it here, is that if I am a realtor, which is going to explain it, but I'm going to talk about it ahead. If I am a realtor and I'm selling your house, correct? And if there is another party in my brokerage, another person, real estate person, has a buyer, basically in this case, there is no multiple representation, okay? But if you look at the right, if you are under the brokerage representation, basically if it's happened that the buyer and the seller from the same brokerage, now you enter in multiple representation and there is a specific rules and disclosure you have to be signed on it. Okay, it's getting a little bit, maybe I think sure we'll have a lot of questions on that. If you look at this picture, self-representation, the guy with the suitcase called the salesperson, correct? And next to him on the right is the client. Client have an agreement, have representation agreement, has a services. If you see the dark arrow, basically I am loyal to my client. I provide all the services to him. I do everything to my client in order to sell his property. If you are on the left, a self-represented party, they only see the dotted line. I only going to give you a general information. I don't tell you how is the area, if there is a gas station next to it, if there is a development next to it, especially in the rural area type things, okay? So if you see, I can have multiple SRP and basically just give them information. But the reason I give them information, to help my client sell his house. My loyalty, my services is only to my client. I don't disclose anything else apart from give him the leaflet. Basically, you are the SERP. You have to do all the work to yourself. But I help you, and there is a new rule actually. If you are a SERP, and basically you saw my son selling your house, you come to me and say, well, I want to see the house, correct? So basically you have to sign a SERP to say, okay, a sign form to say, I'll show you my house, correct? So I show you the house I'm selling. Let's say you looked at the house as a SERP and you decided, you know what, yeah, this house is okay, but you will ask me as a realtor, can you show me a house down the road? Since you are a realtor, the rule does not work anymore like that. Basically, I only can show you the house I am selling or the house and under my brokerage listing. But let's make it simple. Sir, basically on your own. That means you have extensive knowledge to deal with real estate. Now, what is multiple representation? If you heard the word double dipping, basically you have the buyer and the seller. Basically, I'm going to get commission from the buyer and I'm going to get commission from the seller. And that was the problem, which is basically the government, the RICO came with the trust and the real estate because there was a lot of shady deal. There is a lot of wrong deal. And because how you divide your loyalty. Remember, you have to treat the client with integrity, will protect their information, provide them the best services. If I have a buyer and seller at the same time, where is my loyalty? Where is my loyalty is going to go? Of course, the loyalty had to be divided, and they try to avoid that in any shape or form, type of thing. So multiple representation basically is the double dipping itself. So in this scenario, you have a seller, and you have a client buyer and a client seller, correct? This is multiple representation and had to be a disclosure up front, and he had to notify the buyer to say, yeah, the seller is me because he's my client, and basically you have to declare that to both of them. You have to declare the commission, you have to declare what you have with them. But if you look at the both end from the SERP, is basically I'm just providing a assistant type of thing. So basically the new rule in the trust, it eliminates the situation of multiple representation. That's an example. I'm selling your house, and then suddenly I have a client buyer coming to you and say, I notify you. I say, hey, Mr. Smith, I have a buyer representing too. You are as a Mr. Smith, you're going to tell the salesperson. Remember, is disclosure, is an agreement, is in a contract. Basically, the contract had to be changed. Say, hey, let's call the salesperson name is John. Hey, John, I do not agree for multiple representation. Either you give the business to somebody else, or we have to discuss the commission. Okay. Remember, before there's no need to have that disclosure or changing in the contract. Now it's very important, had to be declared that I have another buyer representing. So basically the contract had to be changed. If you are Mr. Smith, do not agree to multiple representation, you have all the right to do that. So basically the salesperson had to give the business to somebody else. Okay. Multiple presentation, very simple, is just call it double dipping. Let's work it like that. I think I'm doing well with the time. Designated representation, we talk about it. It could be I could be belong to the same brokerage, the lady on the right and the man on the left, salesperson A and B. Basically, even we are at the same brokerage, in this case won't be multiple representation because I'm only attached to one arm of the deal, one arm with the deal, not that. So basically multiple representation does not apply here. But multiple representation will be applied if both the salesperson A and B, basically you sign a contract with the brokerage to represent you, correct? But if you sign the contract as designated representation, in this case, multiple representation does not apply. A lot of information, but let's, I'll make it simple, easy. Okay, content about the offer. the offer had to be declared. There is no offer, no somebody come and tell you verbally, I'm going to put on, I'm going to buy your house for, $500. No, the offer had to be written, the offer had to be received, the offer had to be signed, the offer had to have a copy to the broker. So everything is that basically regarding the offer itself. So if you look at the three bullets, you are the client, you are the basically, you decided how much information you want to share about competing offer. Let's say you have 5, 6 offer came to you, your house is selling like hot cake. You decided what you want to share with the people submitted offer, a valid offer in your hand, not somebody say, tomorrow I'm going to give you an offer. You decided you want to share the prices, you want to share basically the content of the offer, you want to share the included not excluding, you want to share like the percentage of the commission that you as a client, remember I'm using the word you all the time, you decide, you own the contract, you hire John Smith to do real estate for you. Second bullet, your agent will advise you. Our job to advise you, to basically to clear your mind, to give you a direction, to give you a roadmap. We show you how to chart the water. It's based on the, if the, let's say you get 5 offer and your house $1 million and all the offer maybe 850. Basically, we are as a realtor, we know what is in the market. We're going to advise you, is this a good offer, is a bad offer? But at the end of the day, is the decision for you. And we can tell you what type of content of you want to share in the offer itself. If you decided not to share anything, this is absolutely right. You don't need to share anything. Let them decide. You can send back the offer. There is a whole, let's call it etiquette. There is a whole strategy when an offer comes to you as an agent and you how to deal with that. Basically, this is like more or less a course by itself. How to deal with the offer, how to make sure that your client gets the best offer. Third one, you, again, see the word you. You need to provide a clear written direction to your agent before the content of offer can be shared. I need you to tell me, not to say, hey, John, yeah, let's give them just the price verb. No, it had to be written, what you are written, what you're going to share, and you have to have that. This, if you are a seller. Let's switch to a buyer. Again, you decide whether you want to participate in the multi-offer process or not. So nobody push you over the cliff here, correct? Again, your agent will tell you the step take to have like to say, okay, how to basically share the offer with the other buyer. If you decided not to share your offer as a buyer with the other, you don't need to share. Basically, you keep the card to your chest. Be aware, again, that's very important. Be aware that the seller can make a decision to share the content of the offer and tell. Like if you decided not to share your offer as a buyer with the other buyer, remember, the services to the seller basically can decide to share or not to share. So really, that's really an area you have to be clear on that. I know everybody talk about commission. Everybody loves to talk about commission. The other reason I left it in there, because I went to one person to sell their house. The first thing he told me, okay, what is my commission? I told him, if we're going to talk about commission, thank you very much for your business. I'm leaving now. But usually Iraqi community, they love to talk about commission. Let's hold it up. The commission is divided in 2 baskets. There is a buyer commission and there is a seller. Okay, the commission paid by the seller. The commission is divided. Basically, something had to go to the cooperating brokerage, whoever bring a buyer, and you are the listing agent. You have to get your share of the services. Okay. There is also something called finding fees. Okay, what is finding fees? Finding fees is basically, let's say, yeah, I am a doctor. Let's say I'm looking for, basically, I'm coming from Alberta. I want to buy a house in a specific area and something. I call an agent. I tell him, hey, Mr. John, go find me a house with this, with a pool and whatever and I'm going to give you $5,000 on the top of the commission. correct? They called it finding fees. That confounding fees does not paid by the seller. It's paid by you as a buyer. That's a separate contract. But let me make it simple. The fee which is paid by the seller, buyer does not pay fees. Just keeping that in mind. It's divided in two portions, two baskets. Now, very important about the commission. This is the general information. Commission can be done in multiple ways. If you are good in math, you can work it out. Commission could be based on a percentage. You say, hey, I'm going to pay you 5%, but you are, as we say, disclosure. You remember that before was not clear, now is clear. You are, as a seller, you're going to decide how much you want to give the cooperating brokerage and how much you're going to give your agent, okay? It could be a fixed dollar. You say, you know what? I want to go with a fixed dollar and we'll divide up, and I'll show you in 3 examples soon. Could be combination of both. Could be a percentage and it could be a fixed amount. Remember how this has nothing to do with the finding fees. But what you cannot do, which is very specifically in the trust of the real estate, is that you cannot specify the amount based on the difference between the listing price and the seller price. And that happened, in the peak of the price. You say, we list the house for 800. I'm sure I'm going to sell it to you for 1 million. You're going to pay me the difference on that. So you cannot do that. Also, what you can do, which is not here, you can do it gradually. You say, on the first 500, I'm going to pay you, such amount and all that. But let's be clear, the rule are 4 rules, and this is what the government or the RICO is really been documented. Let's go quickly through examples here. I know we start a little bit late, but so I'm good with time. I'm watching my clock. Sorry, let's say the house is $800. Remember, all the time, there is an HST. The people the government, they need their share. HST, you have to pay HST on your commission. Remember that all the time. HST you pay even when we leave to the next world. Let's say it's a 5%. You agree with your realtor that what, you are such a nice guy. I'm going to give you 2.5, and I'm going to have to the selling brokerage. Do the math. That's what your fees here. This is a very simple rule, very simple cookie cutter. Next example. Fixed amount. You know what? You hire Rashid, and Rashid's such a good your friend. You know what? My house, worth $800,000. I don't want to deal, with the up and down. I'm going to pay you 40,000, but we go into agreement. You see, for me as a listing, I'm going to get $18,000, but you decide, both of you agree to decide to give the selling brokerage $22,000. At the end of the day, it's still 40,000. But what you did here is basically you give an incentive to the selling brokerage to bring a buyer. Okay, but it could be the same. It could be 20/20, but it's a math. Again, you and the realtor have a contract. You need to have that conversation. Okay, it's basically an agreement. If you don't like what he's doing, you just fire him and hire somebody else. Third one is basically, it could be a mix. I work with the same number. I said, what, $800,000. I'm going to give 2% to the brokerage, and I'm give to you a fixed rate. Guess what? If the house sell for 900, of course the brokerage, the selling brokerage is going to get more money. But you as a listing, because you're getting the business, you're getting a fixed price. So you have to work out all the math with that and all of things here. So Abu Muhammad, do I have a time to show the RICO contract?
اي اكو بعد عندك كم دقيقة ابو حسن تفضل.
Okay. Sorry, I have to stop sharing. How to stop? Okay, I stop sharing. So I'm going to share again. So basically, this is the RICO guide. It is a PDF. I can send you the link to everyone. Okay. It is very nicely written. It's about 17 pages. You just go through it exactly what I explained to you in a graphic format. And this is by the rule of RICO. We have to give you a copy of that. We have a special tool, responsibility, risk of representing yourself. signing a contract with the real estate brokerage. What does it mean? They made it very nice package, actually. Talking about understanding multiple representation. What does it mean? What does it impact you? Talk about, how to make a complaint. Let's say if you didn't like, there's a complaint process. You can basically, if you go to RICO and you say this agent did, promise something and did know that. But remember, if nothing is written, you need to be your word against their word. So everything, make sure is written there, basically, and then you have to sign an acknowledgement to that. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. And, I'm sure you have tons of questions. Remember, my goal is educating the people. I did not hide anything because, real estate for me is the business for me is a passion. Thank you very much, everyone.